Why Europe doesn't build skyscrapers. Did you know that Europe, with its rich history and iconic landmarks, has surprisingly low numbers of skyscrapers compared to other continents? In fact, some of Europe's most famous cities like Paris and London are defined by their low-rise, historic architecture. But why is this the case? What factors have led to Europe's reluctance to embrace skyscrapers on the same scale as cities in Asia or North America? Today, we're going to uncover the 5 fascinating reasons behind Europe's unique approach to urban development. Reason number 1, historical preservation. When we think of Europe, we envision charming cobblestone streets, medieval castles, and iconic landmarks that have stood the test of time. Europe's rich history is not only a source of pride, but also a significant factor in its reluctance to welcome skyscrapers. Let's start with some striking numbers. The historic city of Prague, for example, boasts a landscape largely unchanged for over 1,000 years. Paris, often referred to as the City of Light, has architectural marvels that date back to the 12th century. These cities, along with many others across Europe, are living museums where every corner tells a story of the past. To preserve this historical treasure trove, European cities have implemented stringent regulations on building height. In Prague, the Historical Preservation Zone covers a staggering 866 hectares, encompassing the entire historic city center. With this zone, buildings are restricted to a height to ensure they don't overshadow the iconic Prague Castle or Charles Bridge. Paris, with its 1.3 million buildings, has similarly strict regulations. The French capital's height restrictions are designed to protect the visual integrity of the Eiffel Tower, one of the most recognizable landmarks globally, and the Notre Dame Cathedral, which stands as a monument to Gothic architecture. But it's not just about preserving famous landmarks. European cities recognize the value of their entire historic fabric. In Rome, for instance, a city that's essentially an open-air museum, new buildings must adhere to strict architectural guidelines. Modern construction must blend seamlessly with the city's ancient ruins and Renaissance palazzos. These regulations aren't merely cosmetic. They are rooted in a deep cultural appreciation for the past. In Venice, the city's struggle against the encroachment of the sea has led to the unique architectural response. Venice's famous palazzos are built on wooden pilings, a technique that has been perfected over centuries. The city's intricate system of canals is both a transportation network and a part of its cultural identity. So, while the appeal of towering skyscrapers is undeniable, Europe's commitment to preserving its historical heritage often takes precedence. The result is a cityscape that offers a harmonious blend of the old and the new, where each building contributes to the timeless story of Europe's past. Reason 2, zoning and planning regulations. In the world of urban planning, Europe stands out with its meticulously crafted zoning and planning regulations that have led to a distinct urban landscape. In Paris, over 96% of the city's buildings are below 100 feet in height. This figure demonstrates the city's dedication to preserving its distinctive low-rise profile. To delve deeper into these regulations, consider London, one of Europe's largest and most dynamic cities. In London, the Strategic View Corridors policy, established in 1943, protects iconic sightlines of landmarks like St. Paul's Cathedral and Westminster Palace. This policy restricts the construction of tall buildings that could obstruct these cherished views. As a result, London's skyline has retained its historical charm. Similarly, in Barcelona, zoning laws aim to protect the city's unique urban fabric. Buildings are restricted in height and must adhere to strict architectural guidelines to ensure they blend harmoniously with the city's distinct character. Barcelona's Eixample district, with its iconic grid pattern, is a prime example of how zoning regulations have shaped the city's layout. In Venice, where the preservation of the city's delicate ecosystem is paramount, strict zoning regulations are in place to protect the fragile lagoon. Any new construction, even renovations, must meet stringent environmental standards to safeguard this UNESCO World Heritage Site. Furthermore, some European cities have implemented what are known as view management frameworks. In cities like Edinburgh and Bath, these frameworks ensure that views of historical landmarks and natural landscapes remain unobstructed. These regulations not only preserve the city's character, but also enhance its aesthetic appeal. So, it's not just history that shapes Europe's cityscapes. It's also the careful orchestration of zoning and planning regulation. These regulations not only protect cherished views and historical sites, but also contribute to overall quality of life in these cities. Europe's urban planning approach is a delicate balance between progress and preservation, resulting in some of the world's most captivating and culturally rich cities. Reason number 3, geographical constraints. In the densely packed cities of Europe, geography plays a crucial role in limiting the growth of skyscrapers. To put this in perspective, consider this remarkable fact. Amsterdam, one of Europe's most picturesque cities, is situated on approximately 90 small islands connected by over 1,500 bridges and contains nearly 165 canals. This unique geography poses significant challenges to the construction of towering skyscrapers. Now, let's explore further. Amsterdam's charming canal system is not just a postcard-perfect feature, it's a vital part of the city's infrastructure. These canals serve as transportation routes, water management systems, and historical landmarks. Building skyscrapers on these islands would not only be logistically complex, but also threaten the very essence of what makes Amsterdam, well, Amsterdam. A similar story unfolds in Venice, often referred to as the floating city. Venice is built on a network of islands with a lagoon, creating a stunning, beautiful, but geographically challenging environment. The city's unique foundations, which rely on wooden pilings, are not conducive to the massive weight and deep foundations required for skyscraper. Additionally, the risk of flooding in Venice is a constant concern. Building tall structures on these vulnerable islands would not only jeopardize the safety of the buildings, but also disrupt the delicate ecological balance of the lagoon. Even in cities with more conventional layouts, the scarcity of available land possesses significant constraints. In Paris, for example, the city's historic core is densely packed, leaving limited space for the construction of large skyscrapers. The need to preserve the city's historic character further limits where and how tall buildings can be constructed. In essence, the geographical constraints of Europe's cities, whether due to canals, islands, or historical layouts, make the construction of skyscrapers a logistical and cultural challenge. These constraints have forced European cities to innovate and find alternative ways to accommodate growth while preserving their unique identities. Reason number 4, cultural preferences. Alright, let's dive into something really interesting here. Cultural preferences in Europe that shape the way cities are planned and why skyscrapers aren't as common as you might think. Copenhagen, Denmark is often hailed as one of the most livable cities globally. The shocking news is that 41% of Copenhagen citizens prefer to commute by bicycle. That's not just a preference, it's a way of life. So, what's going on? Well, European cities have this fascinating love affair with human-scale living. It's all about making cities that are easy to navigate by foot or bike. Streets are designed to be pedestrian-friendly, and public transportation is incredibly efficient. This approach creates an environment where people are encouraged to interact and engage with their surroundings. Take the Netherlands, for example. Cities like Amsterdam and Utrecht have gone all in on cycling. Amsterdam even has over 500 kilometers of dedicated bike lanes. This not only reduces traffic and pollution, but also promotes a strong sense of community and well-being. Ever heard of the 20-minute city concept? It's gaining traction in Europe, and the idea is simple. You should be able to reach essential places like grocery stores or parks within a 20-minute walk or bike ride from your home. Paris is getting in on the action, making neighborhoods more self-sufficient and less reliant on cars. In Barcelona, they've got this cool thing called superblocks. It's like they're turning parts of the city into mini communities. They reclaim space from cars and transform it into pedestrian-friendly zones with greenery, playgrounds, and spots for people to hang out. This not only encourages social interaction, but also promotes outdoor activities and a strong sense of belonging. Now, how does all this relate to skyscrapers? Well, here's the deal. Tall buildings can kind of disrupt this cozy, human-scale experience. They cast shadows, block views, and change the whole vibe. European cities, with their emphasis on quality of life and community well-being, often choose to keep things at a more down-to-earth level. It's about creating places where people can live, work, and socialize close to home without needing to reach for the skies. So, while skyscrapers might be iconic in some parts of the world, Europe has its own unique cultural values that prioritize creating down-to-earth, people-centric environments. It's just one layer in the fascinating story of why Europe's cities look and feel the way they do. Alright, time to talk about something that's not just a European thing, but a global concern: the environment. You see, Europe has been a frontrunner in the sustainability game, and that's got a lot to do with why skyscrapers aren't popping up left and right here. Tall skyscrapers with their massive structures and high energy demands can be environmental heavyweights. They consume more energy for heating, cooling, and even getting people up and down those towering heights. So in Europe, where environmental consciousness is high, that's a big red flag. Let's look at Stockholm, for example. This city is all about being eco-friendly. They're setting ambitious climate goals and working hard to reduce their carbon footprint. Now, skyscrapers, with their immense size and need for resources, can be tough to align with these sustainability goals. They can end up gobbling up more energy and materials than low or mid-rise buildings. But it's not just about the environmental impact. Tall skyscrapers also face another issue: the risk of future appreciation. You see, when you're investing big bucks in real estate, you want to see a return on that investment. But in a market where there are more luxury apartments than there are buyers, it's like playing a risky game of roulette. So sure, a penthouse with an amazing view has its charm, but is it really worth it when you're not sure about future demand or the environmental toll? In Europe, they're thinking long-term and asking these tough questions. Now, don't get me wrong, Europe isn't against tall buildings altogether. There are skyscrapers here and there, but they're often carefully planned, incorporating the latest eco-friendly tech and sustainable materials. It's about finding that balance between the desire for tall buildings and the need to keep things green and sustainable. So while you might not see as many skyscrapers piercing the European sky, it's because these cities are putting their commitment to the environment front and center. They're asking whether the attractiveness of a super tall building is worth the potential environmental impact. And in many cases, they're opting for a more balanced approach to urban development. This concludes our list of the 5 most important arguments for why Europe does not produce skyscrapers on par with other continents. From historical preservation to environmental concerns, Europe's approach to urban development is shaped by a unique blend of culture, geography, and regulations. While skyscrapers may be scarce, Europe's cities continue to captivate with their charm, history, and commitment to sustainable urban living. Thanks for joining us on this journey to uncover the surprising facts behind Europe's urban landscape. If you found this video informative, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe for more fascinating insights.